Welcome to Exchange. I'm Rob Cox. My guest today is Emile Chiaberri, who's the writer, producer, and director of a film called Murder by Proxy: How America Went Postal. Cheerful title, cheerful film, but let's talk about it. I mean, How America Went Postal. This isn't just about the post office. This is about workplace violence, essentially, and the seeds behind it. What got you thinking about doing a film about this?
Well, at first it was purely etymology. Why do we say going postal, and why does the word postal evoke such violent images?
Right.
And I went online at first. I made a joke about it. I remember driving in the car and seeing a store called Postal Supplies, and I was like, "Is that a gun store?" And you know, I started laughing, and then kind of.
And you're like, "Wait, that's not a funny joke."
Put myself
right.
thinking, "Why is that? Yeah, why is that?" And I went online, and of course, the Wikipedia, you know, and started reading about this phenomenon. And after maybe spending about 15, 20 minutes, I realized that there's a lot more to it.
Right.
That despite all the attention, you know, and all the fear surrounding it,
Right.
there's the true significance of this phenomenon is being overlooked.
The film looks at the origins, but it also says this isn't just postal employees going mad and shooting their bosses. It's something about workplace violence overall, isn't it?
It's general workplace,
Right.
then it's schools, you know, it's shootings in public places like malls.
And a lot of the times the shooters are not necessarily completely insane. I mean, that's one of the points you make in the film, right? That there's something else that's driving them sometimes.
What really makes this crime so extraordinary is that it's committed by ordinary people.
Right.
And they're not necessarily felons. They're almost never felons.
Right.
They almost never have any history
of
of disease. That's what makes it so interesting and so disturbing.
So what is it? What is the commonality?
The feeling of being alone, being dehumanized, oppressed, powerless, you know, and fearful for their future, and that kind of, you know, and that tends to build up over the course of years. It never just, you know, somebody just went crazy one day.
But is it just that they have bad bosses? I mean, I know I don't want to reduce it to something that's simple.
That would be oversimplifying,
right.
But you know, bosses. I don't want to pin it all on management.
Sure.
You know, management really sets the tone in the workplace, but a lot of wickedness, if you know what I mean, comes from the co-workers themselves. And that's, again, you know, part of the reason, I mean, the main reason why I used an interview with Jack Welch in the film is to show that those conditions are not accidental. They're
right.
deliberately set. You know, and they really change how people view each other, how they treat each other. They're being more competitive. They don't view themselves, you know, their co-workers as friends or colleagues, but rather as stepping stones, you know, as competitors.
Right. But of course, there is also this sense that in many cases, as you show in the film, we can look at a clip of this, where the co-workers are happy to see some of their bosses gunned down in some of these situations, which is an extraordinary concept. But
It is. That what actually made me want to do this movie the most.
What is the clip we're going to see now? What does that show?
Well, it's a clip of workers reacting to the news of their bosses being shot, and then also I hope the clip where they just share their memories of the event.
Okay, let's take a look at it.
On this memorial plaque honoring those killed, workers have defaced the name of Senior Supervisor Christopher Carlisle with red ink.
When I found out that Chris Carlisle had been shot, sad to say, I was very happy.
You would hate to say something like that. You wouldn't want to think that way because you don't want to wish anybody dead, especially over their job, but there was just an overwhelming sense of relief that some of those people were gone.
It's complicated because, yes, I think it was terrible what he did. He killed 5 people. Several more are physically disabled for the rest of their lives. He took mothers away from their children. He took fathers away from their children. On the other hand, I understand why he did it.
Well, that's pretty harrowing stuff.
Yeah.
Is there some larger meaning to draw from this? A problem with income inequality or distribution of wealth or those kinds of things have certainly been hot button topics with, you know, Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party movement.
Well, they've become hot topics just recently. When I was making this movie, which was before the financial crisis, they weren't. So a lot of people really, even within my production team, did not understand why I was making this film. It's beyond any doubt for me that these shootings have a lot to do with the environment in which people live and work. And the fact that they happen so often means that those conditions are widespread.
Yeah.
And if they are, then you really have a huge problem. This workplace violence thing is just the tip of the iceberg because only a very small percentage of people react to those things in that fashion.
Right, right. Well, as someone who came from the Soviet Union, of course, you know a bit about revolutions, and revolutions start small, don't they?
We spent a lot of time, obviously, in the Soviet Union studying revolutions, not just the Russian Revolution,
right.
but all revolutions. And the common thing about them is that before they happen on a massive scale, you have those isolated incidents, uprisings, right. Happening decades before that, where people just react to those conditions on an individual level, you know, and they frequently misunderstood by their contemporaries. And then the classic definition of a revolutionary situation is when the lower class doesn't want to maintain a status quo, doesn't want to live with it, and the upper class cannot maintain a status quo.
So who are these people who go postal, and what kind of conditions are they actually coming out of?
You know, FBI has a profile, and had for a while, of a typical workplace shooter. The problem is that profile is not actionable, because look at what it describes. It's somebody probably middle-aged who's been in a workplace for a long time, who probably has been on antidepressants, feels like their job is in danger, and feels lonely.
There's a lot of people like that. Where can people see the film?
They can go to murderbyproxyfilm.com at present and buy a DVD or download it. In the second week of April, it's going to be available on VOD, direct video on demand. It's going to be on iTunes and pay-per-view.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My guest today was Emil Chiaberri, who has just produced, written, and directed Murder by Proxy, a film about how America went postal. I'm Rob Cox of The Exchange. We'll be back again next week.